How long have you lived in Lynmouth?
Well, I'm 54 and I was born above Lynmouth Post Office in Lynmouth itself. I'm very proud of my native roots, but my parents' history goes back a lot further than that. I was looking at some deeds the other day that trace our roots back to 1887 down at Lynmouth.
How did you come to run Exmoor Flowers?
Well, we started off as a newsagents. My mother and father bought the building off W.H. Smith's in 1962, sorry. They ran it as a station, as a newsagents, and then 15 years ago we changed to selling both flowers and newspapers, which was extremely hard work. And then we sold the newsagents to the post office in Linton when in 9 years ago, 2005, and we've been running it as a florist ever since.
What's your favourite type of flower?
I've got two. My all-time favourite is Longiflorum lily, and I like the big showy flowers. Actually, I've got several favourite flowers. My other one is one called Red Lion hippeastrum, which is an amaryllis, which is a Christmas one, and it looks like a great big Christmas bauble. This is called a shamrock bloom chrysanth, called shamrock because of the colour of it, not because it comes from Ireland necessarily. And that's an Asiatic lily. And these are carnations, and they're all naturally grown, they're not dyed or anything. And that's called Prada.
What are your childhood memories of Lynmouth?
I don't know where to start. I particularly remember being in Lynmouth down by the river. We always used to chase the eels up the river, and there was 4 of us. The older, I think I must have been about 4, and the oldest one was about 6. And we used to play in the river all day if we could, and all the sea. But we weren't allowed to go to the sea by ourselves. We were allowed to go down to the river by ourselves. So, and we weren't allowed to go very far because the slabs that they'd used to put in the river to make the bridges after the flood were still moving, which they still are now, I think. So they had these great big concrete slabs, and we weren't allowed anywhere near them, and we used to try and go quite close to them and swim beneath them and things, and get into awful trouble because we weren't supposed to be. And I also learnt to swim down at Lynmouth. My sister was thrown in the swimming pool at high tide to teach her to swim. I wouldn't let them do that to me. So I learnt in the old concrete pool, which was in front of I was on Blacklands Beach, and I also helped fundraise to once I'd learnt to swim, to keep it going down there. And that was in 1971 when decimalisation came in, and I had to be told to stop swimming because nobody understood. All the people that had sponsored me didn't understand decimalisation, and they thought they were sponsoring me for I don't know what they thought they were sponsoring me, 10 pence, when it was actually 10 new pence, which is 2 shillings in old money. And so my mum told me to stop swimming because I was costing people too much money. So that was one memory. And I remember the old pool. And only just remember the old pool, but I can remember the beach huts along the back of the old Esplanade car park down there. And I can remember that we were never allowed to go to one corner of the old swimming pool because there were still bits of metal in there, and I didn't quite understand what these bits of metal were, but they were old cars and things that had been washed away in the flood. So we weren't allowed in there in case we got tangled up in whatever was at the bottom of the pool. So unfortunately.